Good evening. I would like to call to order this meeting of the Hermosa Beach City School District. We're going to start off, wait a minute, there's the roll call. Let's start off with roll call, please. God. Thanks, Dinah.
Yes. Board Member Barrow?
Present.
Board Member Beauvais-LaMonica?
Present.
President Cluth?
Present.
3 present.
Thank you. Partly present. Okay. Public comments. So public comments from the audience to the board for items in the closed session. Members of the audience may address the board regarding closed session agenda items. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes unless waived by a majority of all members of the board. I don't see anybody here in person. Dana, do we have anybody in virtual public comment?
No one is online.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we will adjourn to closed session. All right. All right. I'd like to call to order this open session of the Hermosa Beach City School District. Dinah, can we start with the roll call, please?
Yes. Board Member Barrow.
Present.
Board Member Bove LaMonica. Present. Vice President Clerk Cole.
Present.
President Cluth.
Present.
4 present.
Thank you very much. All right. A report from closed session is this. The closed session, the board took action to approve the settlement for case number 202-403-0334 at the board's regular meeting of September 11th, 2024. The vote was 4-0. And additionally, other than that, the board received information from labor negotiators. And that's our report from the closed session. All right, moving on to the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, and our next item is the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to move agenda item S13 to the top of the agenda after, where is it? After public comments, if we could. S13 is the resolution for United Against Hate.
I think we're just doing this to help our friends who are here for that not have to sit through a lot of stuff first, right? So can I get a second for that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Modification of agenda approved. Can I get a motion for approval of the rest of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The amended agenda is approved. All right, the next item is public comments and communications. Public comments, members of the audience may address the board on any topic, regardless of whether it is listed on the agenda. However, the board may not discuss issues raised that are not listed on the agenda. Topics not on the agenda that are brought to the board's attention may be investigated by the administration and a report made to the board, either publicly or privately, at a future meeting. Comments from visitors shall not exceed 3 minutes per individual speaker unless waived by a majority of the members of the board. And I see that we do have some public comments tonight, which is great. I have these in, I think, random order, so I'll just call the folks up. The first person is Beth Albrecht. If you could approach the mic, let us know your name and attachment to the district, and then we'll start the 3-minute clock. Thank you.
My address also. Okay. My name is Beth Albrecht, and I'm a parent of 3 in the district. So hello, and thank you all for your service to our community and schools. I just want to take a second on 9/11 to remember the first responders and all those who were lost that day. So like I said, I'm a mom to 3 kids, 2 middle schoolers and 1 third grader. I've also worked with teens throughout my life, and I am here today to reinforce the calls for stricter enforcement of our cell phone ban. I am not going to give you the facts and figures or expound on the myriad textbook reasons. You've heard them, they've been in the news practically every day now. I'm going to invite you to step into our kids' shoes. Take a minute to find your inner child. Now, imagine with me that you're rushing to school with that heavy backpack, jostling with the crowds around your locker. And just as you're about to head into class, your phone vibrates in your pocket. Brrr. You pull it out and check it. You're sucked into a text exchange that you think will be just real quick with a friend who's homesick. When you finally look up, the bell is ringing and you're late again. Next, imagine you're a new 6th grader. You haven't really met too many of the other boys in school yet. They all seem to know each other. You're nervous and shy. At lunch, you head into the bathroom. It's full of 8th graders. And as you attempt to use the urinal, they start joking about snapping a pic. Are they going to take a picture of you? You freeze. Next, imagine you're a 4th grader with a brand new Apple Watch. You've diligently kept it in your pocket while at school for the past 3 days. On the 4th day at lunch, one of your friends calls you over to the corner of the playground and tells you you'll laugh if you try calling a certain number. It's really easy to memorize. Let's call it right now. As a silky female voice comes on, inviting you to do things you have never even heard of, you know instantly you're going to be in big trouble. Some version of all these stories and worse have happened in our schools. The truth is that kids are hurting. Kids are afraid to use the bathroom. Kids are being bullied. Kids are engaging with inappropriate content. And kids are ultimately distracted. At this critical time in their lives, we are not protecting them. We are not protecting their social development, their education, or their growth. We cannot expect teachers and administrators to police the bathrooms or hundreds of kids at lunch when all it takes is 1 second to pull out a phone and snap a photo. Any rule is only real when it's enforced. Spot checks aren't enough. That is why I'm asking for a different solution. Lockable pouches are being rolled out across the nation and as nearby as Marina Del Rey Middle School. I understand that it will still be challenging to enforce, but I believe the kids are worth it. As Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done. Thank you.
Next, Cordelia Furiello Davis. Pardon me for messing up the name. Please share your name and your attachment to the district, and then we'll start the clock.
My name is Cordelia Ferriola Davis, and I'm a student, an 8th grade student at HBS. Okay. A common misconception among people who don't go to my school is that phones are most present in classrooms. And while it is true that ringing phones and buzzing in backpacks is annoying, that is not even the main problem. The worst thing about having so many phones in schools is not in the classroom, but rather before school and in the bathrooms. For example, just today, I was using the restroom during lunch, and entire groups of kids were on their phones, clogging up the walkways and blocking access to the sinks. While this may seem like a minor issue, it is a mere physical representation of a much bigger issue that often goes under the radar of many people. As a student surrounded by others who are constantly on their phones before school, I have personally felt pressure to get social media, but I've done the research and I know it is bad for me. However, many people are on social media, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's bad. Like most things, there is a time, place, and a way to do everything. But for some people, social media, especially when used in a setting with many of their peers, can lead to self-esteem issues. Phones in school are another way for bullying. Many people have experienced some sort of bullying that has to do with phones in schools. As a student, I don't want all these things to happen to any students. My friends and fellow peers are being impacted by phones in schools. We need much bigger crackdown on phones. There can't be any phones in school. It's impacting the way that their academics are happening and their classes. Phones should not be allowed in schools.
Thank you very much. Nice job.
Cordelia, our protocols ask us not to comment on the comments, but I just want to commend you for coming in to speak. We don't get a lot of students stepping up to the mic to do that, so thank you very much for that, and kudos to you. All right. Next, Steve Eisant.
President Kluth, members of the board, esteemed staff, Steve Eisant, and my relationship to the school is just an interested average citizen of the little seaside town of Hermosa Beach. Actually, I want to speak this evening about Measure HV, and for those of you, well, first of all, you already know what it is because you put it on the ballot November 5th, but for those in the room and those watching from the comfort of their own home, Measure HV is a school bond issue, slightly under $30 million, that will be hopefully passed by the citizens of Hermosa. Now, a lot of you may remember Measure S. 9 years ago now, 2015. That money was wisely used to totally rebuild North School and now call it Vista, and then substantially remodel View, but not a lot of money, unfortunately, was put into Valley. It has received upgrades over the years, but it still is a school that was built in 1949. So much of this money is going to go to Valley. It's going to go through things just such as basic refurbishment of the structure itself. Unfortunately, strengthening of the perimeter access. I say unfortunately because it's unfortunate that we have to do that, but we have to do that. Some work on the athletic fields, rebuilding of science labs, a number of other items such as that. Better Wi-Fi, I think there's some solar involved. So for those of you, again, that are in the room or watching, if you want to learn more about the peculiarities of this particular bond, just go to the school district website. If I remember correctly, I can't remember sometimes what I had for breakfast, but I think it's hbcsd.org. And that's all you need to know. But there are two important takeaways as my time dwindles down. The first is, if this bond is passed by the citizens, their taxes will not increase. And what might be really interesting, and we don't know this for a fact yet, but because there's been a faster pay down of the prior bonds, the extended time right now for Measure S, that payback for this new bond, if it's passed, probably won't go past that. The most important thing, finally, we have a campaign to inform our citizens, and we want to do that through mailers, through precinct walking, and through lawn signs. So for those of you that are in the room, yes on S, Measure HV. Now, we call it a lawn sign, but heck, you could put it in your garden, you could put it in your window, on your roof, anywhere you want. And there are some out there, so please take one. Heck, go crazy, take two. For you that are watching from home, we have...
Your time has expired.
And so I will wrap up by saying Saturday morning, South Park, 9 to 11:30 a.m., precinct walk, and lawn signs. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. All right. If there are no other in-person comments, Donna, do we have any comments virtual?
No virtual comments.
Oh, we have another in-person comment, please. Yeah, please. We can give you a pink card. Donna, do they have to fill it out in advance, or can we just invite them up and have it fill it out after? Okay. So we would just ask that you come forward, give us your name and relationship to the district, and then we're going to put a 3-minute clock up, and would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you. Just give us a second for that. Well, please introduce yourself, and we'll get the clock going.
Okay. Just let me know. Ready to go? Oh, okay. Well, hello, everyone. I am Amanda Hunter, and I've missed one of my pages of my thing, so I'll just wing it. I'm a mother and an entrepreneur and a local person in the community. I grew up here, spent my teen years here, then went to Europe and England, lived in England for a number of years, started my first business there, a granola company, and then a couple years later I started a punk band, Mandy Doll, and that's DAHL, and then moved back to New York and started a telephone company, and then had my child and my daughter, and we moved to Sag Harbor, and I started a chocolate company. Now, I've been pretty busy, but I moved back to Hermosa Beach in 2010, and I started in 2014 a peace mission for teens, and I've opened up a teen center, Good World Peace, and I brought some little stickers, and we just had a peace talk on Saturday, the 7th. And what we do is we have these intent talks. We've been doing them in tents because we've been doing them in the parks and on the beach, but now we have our own space, which is the old Body Glove Wetsuit Factory. And we're conducting a number of peace talks there, and we have music. And we also are going to, hopefully in the new year, we're looking for the city and for the school district to support us, to help us find grants to keep this space, because it's a big space, but it really is a space that everyone can gather in. And we need help from the city and from the school district to keep this going. I signed the lease. It's almost been a year. It's been 9 months. I've been carrying it. We've had a couple of sponsors, Dive and Surf have sponsored, and a couple of other local companies, but we really need support to keep it going. And Hermosa Beach is the only city that does not have a teen center. And I know that Ray Jackson was one of the people that asked me to say, came he encouraged me to come here. He says, Amanda, you're keeping this secret. No one knows about it. So I wanted to come and let you know that we're doing this, and we have the opportunity to do a lot of wonderful programming there. Oh boy, I'm so sorry, that's my phone, shoot. I meant to turn it off, I got stuck, I'm sorry. Anyway, we're gonna do cursive writing, sewing, and we have the ability to teach the kids how to make television. We can make a 3-camera shoot, they can learn how to script, they can learn how to operate the cameras, they can learn lighting, sound, all of that. So the most important thing is we really need help. And so I'm here tonight just to open the doors. If anybody wants to contact me, I have my phone number on the back of a couple of these, and I have the flyer, and I know my time is up, so I'm gonna go. But can I put these somewhere where you can get them? Okay, and do you want me to fill this out and give it to you? I will do that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming. Great. Are there any other public comments, in-person public comments? If not, Diana, do we have anybody waiting to make a public comment virtually?
No one is online.
All right. With that, then, we will close public comment. Now, the next item is our hearing section. We're going to go to item H02 2425. We're going to open the public hearing.
We had modified the agenda
Oh, gosh.
to move up S13.
Thank goodness I have such great team members. Okay, we're going to move up S13, right? Let me just find that here. Yeah. Ah, funny. Where is that? I'm not reading all that out, right? Okay, if that's the job, I will do that. There it is, S13, this one. Okay, S13 2425, resolution number 3 2425 in recognition of United Against Hate Week. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, thank you. So in alignment with HBCSD's goals of community partnership, equity, and inclusion, United Against Hate Week, which is September 21st through the 27th, is a call for local civic action to stop hate and implicit biases that are a dangerous threat to the safety and civility of our neighborhoods, towns, and cities. Since its inception, United Against Hate Week has spread to over 200 communities, including all of Los Angeles County, and encourages communities to engage in appropriate programs and activities that include 7 days of action by people in every community to stop hate and the biases that are a threat. Staff recommends you approve this resolution.
All right. Is there anything else, any other instructions for me? Do I read this entire resolution with all the whereases, or is that sufficient?
No,
Okay,
you don't
it's
have
in the agenda. Okay, great.
Once we vote on it, we can invite our guest up if we wanted to.
Great. Okay, so I would then ask for a motion on this item.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution in recognition against hate.
I second it.
Thank you, Kathy. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes, and I would welcome, if we have a speaker on this topic, please approach.
Hello, I am so honored to be here. My name is Vanessa Poster, and I'm on the board of directors of the Beach Cities Health District. And I am a member of the Community Coalition Against Hate, which is organizing the South Bay events around United Against Hate Week. And that coalition is made up of cities, school districts, community groups, religious groups, and it's a wonderful way to show our community that we care about these issues and that we especially care about our children, because children are affected when there is hate in the community, and there have been incidents of hate in this community. We can't pretend that we're better than other places and that this doesn't happen here, because it does. So doing these activities, providing this proclamation, and supporting these events is really important. I also want to call your attention to the Easy Reader tomorrow. There will be an article that focuses on helping families and friend groups talk about these issues. You can come to an event, you can do something and reach out in the community, and then you can also deal with it in your family groups and talk to people about these issues, which helps to increase awareness and understanding. Some of the events that we have on Saturday, September 21st, there's a peace wave that's going to be happening around noon around the world, people taking a moment of silence in honor of peace. And we have a couple of different events in the South Bay, starting at 11:30, having that moment at noon, and being together to do things as a community. So you can check out our website, which is www.bit.ly/South Bay versus hate. And all of the activities will be on there, and they'll also be in the Easy Reader tomorrow. So that's happening in a bunch of different locations. On Sunday at 3 p.m., there will be a community interfaith gathering for LGBTQ solidarity at the Manhattan Beach Community Church. There was a set of rainbow doors at the church talking about how their doors are open to all. It was beautiful artwork, and it was vandalized. And this is a rededication of those doors and a community event to support LGBTQ people in our community. On Tuesday night, there will be a very special event hosted by the Health District and PFLAG to talk about how schools can support their students in feeling safer at school. So I really encourage all of you, particularly as administrators and the teachers and the families, to come to that event. And that will be at Redondo Union High School in the auditorium. On Thursday, there will be a peace pole dedication and then a candlelight vigil in El Segundo. We're really excited about that. Community, outdoor, very fun and community building event. So, and then throughout the week, we are having a nutrition pantry drive to support single moms with food and stuff. And there's going to be a number of locations in Hermosa Beach, at the school district offices. There will be a drop box, and also at the police department where you can bring stuff. So I hope that you will all participate in some of these events. Thank you very much for the proclamation, and I'm going to let Maggie keep the proclamation and deliver it to Hildy. And I want to thank all of you for your participation and the other members of the coalition as well. It's a dedicated group of people, and it's been an honor to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions before we move? All right.
Now you can go to your hearing.
Looking carefully around at my colleagues, I'm going to get the hang of it soon, and then I'm not going to want to go. All right, so we're going to move on to hearing item H02 2425, open public hearing. Open the public hearing regarding the statement of assurance for the pupil textbook instructional materials incentive program. Dr. Wiles?
Yes, so this is what we consider every year our Williams compliance. And so every year, we want to thank Sylvia Gluck and our school principals, go out to all of our classrooms to make sure that our classrooms are fully stocked with all of the instructional materials, textbooks that are needed and required by law.
All right. Are there any public comments on this item? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Thank you, Jen.
Second.
And if you'll
Thank
just
you,
take
Maggie.
a vote to close it.
We have to-
Vote to close the hearing?
Oh,
Yep.
okay. You need to formally say, I'd like to make a motion to vote to
Yep.
close the hearing.
Yes.
All right. Can you try that again?
I make a motion to vote to close the hearing.
I second the motion to close the hearing.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Vote to close the hearing. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to board reports. Moving smoothly on to board reports. Kathy,
No, I'm done.
you're good? Maggie?
I'm just going to tap into what Vanessa said and reiterate that both the district and the city council in Hermosa Beach will have donation drop boxes that are benefiting the South Bay Coalition Against Hate and Richstone Family Center for a canned food drive starting the week of September 21st. So that information will be sent out. It's available publicly in terms of what's accepted. and we're hoping to have a strong showing from Hermosa Beach from that.
Great, thank you very much, Maggie. Jen? Anything?
Good.
All right, if there's no other board reports, we will move on to reports to the board and discussion. Item R, 04-2425, Superintendent Reports. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, thank you. So we'll pull up that presentation. Aaron, do you have a clicker for me? Yeah, you grab it. Do you mind grabbing? I'm going to stay here. I'm too old to shimmy down these stairs. All right, so before we get started tonight, we are going to talk about the beginning of school, which is what we're all in this business to do. But before we get started tonight, I want to take a moment and recognize the people that we don't see on the first day of school. Who you don't see on the first day of school are Jay Peck and his maintenance and operations crew, who have worked all summer when teachers and staff are enjoying their time off. Jay and his crew are working super hard to make sure things get delivered to classrooms, and Paula and her team making sure things are ordered and ready to go to open up the school year. So we want to thank them. And I always think it's important to know, why do we talk about facilities? Research from the U.S. Department of Education has actually shown that the quality, design, and the upkeep of schools' facilities actually has a direct effect on student achievement. So we always want to point that out. So folks that aren't always in front and center on the first day of school, but they have made the first day of school possible. So before we get started, I also want to thank everyone who stopped by our HVS staff back to school rally. Thank you to the board for coming by. Thank you to Mayor Francois, Chief LeBaron, Emery from the Beach Cities Health District, our PTO partners, our HBEF partners. It means the world to staff to kick off the school year with so much support from the community and to see our partners. And you'll see a nice little check up there for $1.265 million from HBEF. So that was great. And we've got Chief LeBaron down there in the left-hand corner, but I think it's important to note there was not a first day site that didn't have the chief and his team out and about, and so we thank them. So let's talk about some numbers. On the first day of school on August 22nd, we had 1,417 students. That is almost a 6% increase from last year. So huge kudos to the board, Dr. Johnson, for all of the work and this team for getting up our enrollment. Enrollment matters. We opened schools with 167 team members, 80 of which are certificated staff. And we had 4 amazing schools. We had our preschool, View, Vista, and Valley. So I talked about a little bit of the increase. It's kind of good historically to see where that increase has come from. So back in 2020-21, that really nasty COVID year, we had 1,190 students. And over the years, you've systematically built and kind of really grown us to the point where we are now, 1,417. And I put a little asterisk because that was as of last Friday when we wanted to send you this. We've had a few permits come in. We've been able to bring in since then. So the happiest place on earth is the preschool. So thank you to Sylvia Gluck and her vision to bring my happy place to Hermosa and to Hannah Ford for really just such a joy-filled opening of year 2 of our Hermosa Beach preschool. We have 33 students. We also have an additional 14 waiting to open up our 3rd classroom that we hope to do in the next few weeks. So what's important to note, by the way, we have 1 spot left in the preschool. So if there's anybody who's out there listening, 1 spot left. But our preschool is play-based, and it's rooted in the state preschool learning standards and rooted in exploratory play. So when we think of preschool, we think of environments and activities that allow kids to develop those learning to learn skills. That's learning to develop their physical development, both large motor and fine motor. Get social, emotional, learning how to get along with each other, how to talk and have reciprocal talk. The emotional development, teaching kids how to feel those big feelings and work through that and develop frustration tolerance. So school is hard. And really the problem solving that develops when kids begin to start thinking with more complexity as they make decisions and solve problems. And so this is a quote from our preschool director, Hannah. She said, "The start of a new year is filled with joy and excitement, and there's nothing more rewarding than seeing our preschoolers thriving. Their energy and smiles remind me that this is where the magic happens." Also, they're watching them walk in with backpacks that are bigger than they are is just brings me joy in my life. So our next, we have Hermosa View. Our enrollment at Hermosa View is 398 students, and they also are boasting a very robust enrollment this year of almost 400 TK through first grade students. So the best way for me to describe the feeling of View, the first day of school and the first few weeks of school, it's like watching a dozen mother and father birds trying to gather everybody into the nest. And what might try to get away, we pull them back. It's a lot of practicing routines and making friends and learning how school works. But there is just joy. There is joy up on the hill with an ocean view, and it's really an exciting place to be. So from our principal, Hillary Overbeck, an incredible first day at Hermosa View and Hermosa Vista. The energy and the excitement were contagious with smiles all around. We're looking forward to an amazing year ahead. Vista saw an increase in enrollment as well. We are looking at enrollment is up to 430 students. And I will tell you, Vista had, even today when we were at the event this morning, I had someone from the city come up and tell me again, Vista had probably one of the smoothest starts to the school year. And that's a huge part, due to the partnership between the school district and the city and the police department and the neighbors. We actually had neighbors out helping kind of move people where they needed to go. Huge thanks to Chief LeBaron. He was on site in the front, his team were on back, and really allowed traffic to move smoothly, kids to be able to see the police department there, and then helped remind parents to make smart choices with their vehicles. My favorite part of Vista, see it a little bit at View, but at Vista, the best part of Vista is if you stand in those back gates, every kiddo who walks through does an over-the-shoulder look at the parent at the gate. Sometimes there's a wave and sometimes a kiss. So I like to stand there and remind parents that fades. So enjoy it while it lasts. And they are just second, third, and fourth grade. There's just something about that group of kids. And so, like I said, the picture up on the left is that back gate. That is really an amazing place to be in the morning. And again, thanks to Chief LeBaron and his team. And from Assistant Principal Allison Montoya, she said, "Welcome back, Hermosa students. It's so great to see so many familiar and new faces. Let's get ready for new adventures, fresh starts, plenty of chances to shine. Let's make this school year our best one yet." Bigger kids don't need so much nest and flocking support. So they hit the ground running on the first day. And again, thank you to the chief out front. So Hermosa Valley, 589. These are our big kids. They are thriving with enrollment that is very close to topping sixth grade. Thank you to Ms. Spahn, her fifth grade class, for putting on some sunglasses for us and letting it shine. Thank you, Ms. Haruska, for really taking some extra duty and helping our kids get where they need to be. Valley has also had an incredibly smooth start to the school year with increased attention to supervision, increased attention to how kids ingress and egress into the campus, and practicing safe movement as they're moving around. I talked last night at back to school night, and kids have not figured out that the superintendent and former principal are literally in room 14. They have not figured that out yet, so when we come out hot, they're in shock every single time. From principal, listen, the two of us have come out hot a couple times. Principal Bledsoe said, "I love this place. The first day of school is full of excitement, happy reunions, and a wonderful energy that promises a fantastic year ahead." So just to finish out the superintendent's report, I want to thank all of the teachers, staff, and administrators for putting so much time and effort into back to school nights this past week. We want to thank our teachers for taking the time to really getting families prepared and off to such a great start. And we want to invite anybody to come have coffee with me tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning is our very first Listen and Learn Coffee with the Superintendent. We'll be at Hermosa Valley starting at 8:15, right after drop off. And that's it for me.
Thanks very much. Do any of my colleagues have comments, questions?
Since I wasn't here last board meeting, I wanted to welcome you officially, and I'm seeing you're hitting it out of the park already, so I'm happy to have you. And of course, the start of the year is an important time, and it seems like everything's going really smoothly, so great.
And Maggie? I'll just say, fantastic. I love those pictures. I saw so many of my favorite teachers from my kids going through. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. And just for those who may be watching in the public, those enrollment numbers are really fabulous. It's really important to understand how unusual that is right now, that
Yes.
I think 80% of California school districts are seeing declines.
Yeah.
Declines mean smaller, closing classrooms, closing campuses, letting teachers go, and Hermosa's bucking that trend. And I just
Absolutely.
think it's really important for our community to know what this says about our community and about our school district, that it's thriving, and kudos to you and your team.
Most districts around us are projecting a 5% year-over-end declining enrollment. Best case scenario, districts are staying flat. So the fact that we've realized over 5% is huge.
Thank you very much. All right, with that, we'll move on to our 05-24-25 Beach Cities Health District Healthy Schools Partnership with Mr. Chen.
Good evening, Board President Kluth, members of the board, Dr. Wilds, and executive team. Emery Chen, Director of Youth Services at Beach Cities Health District. Thanks for allowing me to speak tonight to specifically recognize our strong partnership and to highlight our collaborative efforts this past academic year of 2023 to 24. We've been serving the Beach Cities since 1955, our inception as a special health district, and our success is focusing on preventive health over the years would not have been possible without the essential community partnership with HBCSD and our shared focus on such health priorities as physical and brain health, public health and safety, and lastly, mental health and substance use. And so, as you can see, our collective work over the last year is summarized in our school health report that we provided you. And I'd like to kind of point out some highlights over this last year. But before I do that, I wanted to specifically do a special shout out to Sophia Gluck. You are such a critical ingredient to our success. And just like your liaison work makes it possible for us to do this very impactful work. And on a personal note, I've been in social work and education for over 20 years now. And I've done a lot of collaboration. I've done a lot of work in coalitions. And I'd say that my time here at Beach Cities Health District is uncomparable to anything I've done in my career. So thank you, Sylvia, for being a part of that. And thank you to the school board. So, yes. Just a few photos to kind of just capture what we did this past year. We coordinated another in-person international walk, Enroll to School Day across the Beach Cities, which really encouraged, more kid power, less horsepower, and also to kind of spread public education about street safety. We also just appreciated being welcomed to your campuses to continue to build a sense of community amongst our students and our families through events such as the Back to School Picnic to the Hermosa Valley Spirit Games. Also wanted to recognize that we completed another full year of our Livable Kids program. This allowed us to be on all 3 of your campuses. And also we were able to offer this flagship program, which by the way, going into this year is our 18th year of this program, to really just focus on nutrition and our garden program for all Hermosa students, grades K through 5. And on a more serious note, we continue to address the single deadliest drug threat that our generation has seen in illicitly manufactured fentanyl. It was multi-tiered. We were able to take a double-header approach where we were able to offer an assembly to your 7th graders while at the same time in the same evening offered a parent education event, sharing the same film, which was Dead on Arrival, followed by a panel with young people that are in recovery. Um, and we, also were able to extend this to your education staff. We offer professional development opportunity and training not only on opioid awareness, but also on the administration of naloxone, which is the life-saving overdose reversal medication. And so we look forward to continuing this momentum and our cooperative relationship with you as we enter this 24-25 academic year. And just to kind of point out some of the things that are ahead, we're going to continue to be relentlessly focused on our youth substance use prevention efforts. We have a second installment of this strategy, which, by the way, is kicking off next week at Hermosa Valley. We have a film screening of the film Come Back Home, which highlights young people that have unfortunately lost their siblings through tragic overdose. And during the day, we'll be doing an assembly with your 7th and 8th graders, also followed by an evening event for your parents. So please mark your calendars and come out for that. What's that? That is September 18th, Wednesday, correct? Yeah, Wednesday. We have also added and adapted to the dissemination of our overdose prevention kits, which now not only include 2 doses of naloxone, but now will actually also include fentanyl test strips. And so that will be available this upcoming year to many of our events and also at our Youth Wellness Center. Also wanted to bring up a hot topic, which I recently also heard, which is addressing the fact that much attention has been coming on a federal level from the Surgeon General's office around the concerns of social media, youth mental health, and also just devices in general. And so with that said, we are excited to be bringing screenings of the new documentary, Screenagers, Elementary School Age Edition, which is kind of a spin-off of the original documentary that was first introduced years ago. However, this is focused on grades K through 5. And so we will be bringing that documentary across all 16 elementary schools in the beach cities, specifically kicking it off, of course, here in Hermosa Beach on the 24th of September. We'll be showing it here first, and then, of course, you'll have it at all 3 locations. And last but not least, I do want to point out, we are looking forward to celebrating our 2nd anniversary of Alcove Beach Cities. This is our Youth Wellness Center that was opened 2 years ago. We actually have an open house both on the 21st of September as well as October 5th. So please mark your calendars. We are hosting Co-Fest on that evening. And so that's something that we are very proud to claim, in that we are one of 3 centers in the state of California, and this is all to focus in on our youth mental health crisis that we're currently enduring. And so I wanted to kind of just spin off really quickly in relation to Alcove. Wanted to bring attention to the fact that Beach Cities Health District does have a bond measure on the ballot in November, Measure BC. It will allow us to complete the permanent location of Alcove Beach Cities. It will also allow us to bring demolition to our South Bay Hospital due to seismic safety, as well as open green space, and also just connections between that space to kind of bring the community together. And so finally, just in recognition of our immense amount of work that we accomplished together, I wanted to kind of, on behalf of BCHD, offer you and present HBCSD your 2023-24 Healthy Schools Agreement, check in the amount of $94,091. Yes. So, thank you so much, and we wish you a productive and successful school year, and we look forward to our continued partnership.
Great. Emery, maybe we can get a quick photo? The board can come down and take a photo.
I get to stand next to him. Good job, Emery.
I think there's an interrogation that comes right after. Hold on. No, thank you. I just wanted to invite any of my colleagues if they had any questions or comments.
If I could, Emery, it's been a pleasure. I've previously been a delegate from the board to Beach Cities Health District Works, and I think the work the district does and that you do personally is just can't be overstated in terms of how great of value it is to our families here for the school district. But I think the perspective I have had now as a parent with little people, it starts with Adventureplex before they even get to the district. And Adventureplex is like a gold mine for a rainy day. You know, those are golden tickets to get in there when we can like find a place to run your child for an hour. But then when they continue to have healthy relationships, learning about social emotional, learning about the gardens, learning about different social pressures, all of those things that happen through the partnerships that Beach City Health District provides to the district. We're so fortunate to have our own very own public health district right here that we get to access and have great relationships with. So thank you so much for the work you do.
Other comments?
Maggie, just important to note, screenagers, they will have Adventureplex, providing childcare for screenagers.
Eliminate any barriers to getting families out to get this very important information.
Ditto. I don't want to beat the dead horse, but I mean, we really truly appreciate you and our relationship with you.
I agree with everyone here as well, but I just had a question. Does Beach Cities Health District go and model what this experience is to other places around the country or even other places in Los Angeles? Because I'm on another school board and I'm always like, gosh, do you have a Beach Cities Health District kind of relationship with anybody? Maggie's being sarcastic, and but I just didn't know if that's something that you all do or spend any time doing.
I mean, within, I believe, the 70 some odd health districts across California, yeah, we are, I believe, the only one, or actually there might be two in LA County. And so, unfortunately, this is something that was established in 1955, post-World War II. So I have a mother that lives in Orange County, and I wish that she had a health district. And as you know, we're committed to the 3 beach cities and any resident across the lifespan. So I come here representing the Youth Services Department, but I have my counterparts across the lifespans that work with adults like ourselves as well as older adults. And so it is truly a unique, entity that just simply doesn't exist. And so while we are unique, I must say that not all districts have the relationships that they do with the schools. Obviously, as a director of youth services, we are in the business of serving our young people, and their occupation is to learn and be in school and be students. And so the fact that you all allow us to work together to the extent that we do is an absolute blessing to allow us to do what we're doing.
Thanks. I'll just finish with, there may be folks out there who don't necessarily understand exactly what role you play if they're not sort of digging in deep, when it comes to healthcare. I just think, the old motto of an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure really, really applies here. And, whether it's the screenagers work you do or the fentanyl awareness or, bike safety, the various things that you guys do, I think, are tremendous in terms of fulfilling that motto of an ounce of prevention and really helping our communities be wellness aware and wellness prepared. So you've been a fantastic partner for our district. Thank you very much. And we wish you the best of luck this fall and well worth the $3 that you guys are trying to put on the bond, in my opinion. Thank you. All right. Next, it just gets more and more exciting. R06-2425, budget unaudited actuals. Ms. Montalvo.
Evening, board. I'm happy to be here tonight to share the books are closed, so we're going to share the unaudited actuals. It was quite a summer to get this task done this year. But I'm happy to report that there's increased unexpected local one-time revenue, $538,000. That's fantastic. Expenditures increased by 0.5% for the 23-24 school year. And as you know, we also settled our labor agreement late June. So that's all in the financial picture when you're looking through the slides. All those numbers are included. On this first slide here, oh, now I gotta change it. See, I don't do good with this. Okay, unaudited actual overview. I want to draw your attention to the 27% reserve balance. Without that $538,000, we would have been at 25%. So that increase of 2% means a lot for this upcoming school year and planning forward and the things that we're going to do. Here's our multi-year projections, and as I mentioned earlier, the AB 1200 increases, the settlement increases are all included in those multi-year projections. Again, we're remaining fiscally solvent all the way through 27-28. When we look at the glance here, what I want to draw our attention to is enrollment. Like Susan said, our enrollment is 14-17. That is an adjustment, and those numbers are also reflected in the multi-year projection as well. But it's not all about enrollment. It's about getting kids in seats. It's average daily attendance. So if your student isn't in their seat every day, we don't get paid. We need kids in seats every day in order to maximize our funding. The projected net reserve, again, just call your attention to we're remaining fiscally solvent all the way through 27-28 with a graduated based enrollment. And we'll look at those numbers again at first interim and see if there will be any adjustments. And our famous pie chart, we love our pie chart. Over 80% of our budget eats and sleeps, and that's staffing. So that's just a quick glance at where we're spending our dollars. Do I have any questions?
Colleagues, please, do you have any questions?
Paula, could you talk a little bit about why we had the one-time local revenue?
Sure. The one-time local revenue increase was due to interest income. So keeping a higher reserve level, timing spending, keeping that reserve level high increased us a greater yield on our return, more than we expected. As well as the county invests our money, the fair market value, and this year it paid greater dividends. So we were able to benefit about $155,000 for that. And then fourth quarter lottery increases for local also increased, so we gained another 150 there as well.
Is there any pattern or practice to when the when you the first two items you're talking about with the county going through and looking at the benefits off that, is there any, like, do they do that on an annual basis, a 3-year, like?
Those are transactions. Fourth quarter interest earned is posted in June. And the fair market valuation is the whole year, and then there's a calculation that I do as of June 30th with all their investments, and that tells us what we yield. Yeah, it's all at year end.
Other colleagues?
I just was wanting to remind us, and I think I may have shared it with somebody, but there's Manhattan Beach Unified School District has done a butts and seats video, and it is so good to explain to families why ADA matters. And it's, I think they must have made it in district, or maybe it's a template that you can just swap your district in. But I think if we wanted to consider even,
So on the general consent, you're going to see an agreement with Aaron Sujan.
Yes.
We also are going to be going
great.
after.
It's
So
such a great video. I
Yes.
was like, oh, well, if everyone understood the business of
super
schools,
responsive.
thank you for being so responsive, Susan.
Listen, you asked, and here we
job.
are today.
Thank you. Okay, that was it. Just
We met with
everyone-
Aaron Sujan. I think one of the important things to remember, though, for families is that we don't want people just giving us a check and still being absent.
Exactly.
So we're going to take a little bit of what Manhattan Beach, but we want parents to understand if you take off 1 day a trimester every year, that's just 3 days. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but over 13 years of schooling, you've actually missed like 2 months of school. So we want parents to really understand, like coming 30 minutes late once a month can equate to losing a week of school. So sometimes when you put some of the numbers into perspective, it will help. And then also, and you're costing us money, right? If everyone was coming to school even just 1% better, what would that mean for us? But yes.
Kathy? Good. I'll just point out that you guys were, it looks like pretty spot on with regard to your expense projections.
Yes.
Kudos to you. Look, we like positive surprises better than negative surprises. Overall, kudos to you for getting the expense projections right. And just, that's good for our credibility as a district, and it's good for our confidence as decision makers. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Great. I told you it was exciting.
I told her
All
she
right.
might get a standing ovation, so just be ready to prepare
right.
herself.
Not much interest in this next topic, so we'll try to, I'm just kidding. This is going to be a very interesting topic. A lot of us, I think, are concerned about this. R07-2425, cell phone free policy discussion. Dr. Wilds.
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. So thank you to Jen for bringing this up, but we wanted to talk about, this is rooted in Assembly Bill 3216, which is otherwise known as the Phone Free School Act. It has passed through the legislation. It is just sitting on the desk of the governor. We anticipate that he will sign it very shortly, in particular because of a letter that he sent to LEAs that basically said, don't wait for my signature, get on it. And the Phone Free School Act requires that every school district, charter, and county office of ed has to develop a policy limiting the use of smartphones by July 1 of 2026. And that's really the essence of the letter that he sent, is that you don't, even though that's the deadline from the legislature, you do not have to wait that long. This actually builds upon a previous law that was passed in 2019 that gave school districts the authority, but did not require them to regulate smartphones during school hours. Obviously, in 5 years, we've seen a growth of what the cell phones that we're seeing on campuses. Assembly 3216 actually now allows for the enforcement of policies by limiting students' access to cell phones. So we do have the ability to say, you're done. And what I've provided for the board, as you can see, this is the letter that is sent from the governor. Most interesting for me is data that was actually collected from Common Sense Media. And you'll see there is a statistic that is quoted in his letter that says 97% of students use their phones during the school day for an average of 43 minutes. Think of it just from the beginning of the school day, just to bell. 43 minutes is an entire period of our students. So that to me was a kind of a shocking piece of information. So I'll open it up to the board.
Go ahead.
I just had a couple, just this, since we're discussing, walk us through what would happen if we decided tomorrow to do this.
Yeah, so right now, we have told kids, and this is particularly a Valley issue, I think the first thing we'd have to do is talk about, when we say limiting, are we just meaning smartphones, or are we also meaning smartwatches? Because we may not see phones at phones at View and Vista, but you see a whole lot of watches, right? So I think the first thing we'd have to do is we'd have to define, what is it that we're talking about? Because I think that's a really clear step we would have to say for families. At our schools, we already have a put it away, we don't want to see it policy. The question is then, we need to think about how far we enforce it. right? What does that look like? And then we clearly communicate that to families. Is the enforcing it, and what I've provided to the board is really kind of 4 schools of thought out there for how you can limit. There are some options. The first one is what kind of we call the band model, meaning don't even bring it on campus. If we see it on campus, it's ours. There are some pros and cons to this. It's just a staffing issue, right? Are we checking backpacks as kids are coming in? Are we waiting for them to come out? Are we waiting for them? It's just a logistical thing. So do we actually have the ability to do that? One of the things I always say to school leaders is don't put a rule in place you can't enforce. But that's one option. That's the band model. The second thing is what we call the silenced and away all day. A little bit of a rhyme model, meaning that we create a policy that just says they are not only in your backpack, but they are off. They are off. You power them down as you're coming through the gates. You can power them back up as you go off. And then with any, again, like I said, with any of these, you have to say what the consequences are, right? Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3. Kind of you're out. The third model that is out there and has been used at different middle schools that's been explored across the country is what we call the cell phone hotels. A cell phone hotel, it looks like an old school pocket chart in a classroom. Kids come in, Kathy probably had this when she was a teacher. It lives on the wall. Kids have to come in, they have to take their phones out, and it lives in a box, in a pocket chart. Some of the challenges of that is that it then now makes the onus on the teacher to kind of, you're walking in, where's your phone, where's your phone? That's going to take instructional time. Even just 5 minutes across 6 periods now is 30 minutes of instructional time. And then the fourth kind of model is a locked pouches. Right now, the leading manufacturer in these pouches is Yonder. There is a few other companies. They've had a little bit of a supply chain issue. So for the most part, Yonder has been able to provide school districts with the quantity they need. Just as an aside, I happen to know exactly how much these cost because I costed them out for Redondo. So I actually have a quote that's been sitting. We quoted them out for both middle schools as well as the high school. So when you cost out Yonder, you're costing out the price of a 1-to-1 pouch, right? And then you also have to cost out some what we call medical Velcro. There are students that are going to have some sort of medical need. For example, if you were a student who is a diabetic, that phone needs to be accessible. It can't be locked away. There might be a student who has in their IEP that shows that, so different reasons. So you have to have you have to have a kind of variety. You also need an unlocking base, whether that's a set base that is at the entrances where kids can tap it and go. Then you got to think about bringing electricity to it. So there's that. There's also kind of like a magnet wand, where if you've ever gone to a concert lately, you see them, but you need people to kind of do that. Sorry, that's a cost, and then you have to run them on a battery and charge. There's also training and kind of staff. So all in, they cost about $30. So say the all-in cost, 1-to-1, and then most districts that we talked to at the time are saying they're running anywhere between a 20 to 30% damage rate, meaning a kid walks out of school, they forgot to unlock it, they're not waiting for the next day, they are slicing that thing open. Now it's being thrown away. Some kids are figuring out how to unmagnetize them. That is, that can happen. So when you cost in over like a 1, 3, 5 years, really think about a 20 to 30% replenishment fee, all in. The one thing to think about with a pouch is you have to increase staffing. So the staffing has to be on the gate, monitoring as they come in, put them in the pouch. I don't mean to shock anybody, but sometimes middle schoolers are not honest about what they put in the pouch. They maybe only put the cell phone case, but not the cell phone, or they may have fake phones. So you need people at the gate to monitor it coming in, and then you need people at the end of the day to unlock them. And it's just, so that's a cost in terms of hours. We were projecting about 1 hour extra duty and then you take the number of students. For example, at one of the middle schools in Redondo Beach, we had about 1,300 kids, so we were projecting about 10. We did like a 1 to 100, 125 ratio to get the phones in. but it was the other caveat is that it is going to cause a little bit of a logjam, so, is getting kids in. So those are pretty much the 4 kind of models that are out there for the board to consider.
So something that we could start with, and maybe seems like the easiest and maybe the most palatable for our district, is the silence in a way, in my opinion, because we could start that tomorrow if we wanted to, right? It's just all about the enforcement and then seeing the parameters of if we catch you with it, this happens. And then the second, I think that having a tiered thing that just with diligence, I think they would disappear to an extent, I think. That's my opinion.
Right?
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, my question is, can we ask, I don't know, legally, can we make it something where it's like an ASB pass? Like, can we ask families to pay for a Yonder pass, a pack? And then those that can't, we can supplement it?
Could do that. Yep, that's another option, just to offset the cost.
I'm just like, because I think our families probably would say, at least from the feedback we received on, because we got a lot of feedback today, which is, we're all, I mean, I'm on the same page of a lot of the feedback.
100%.
So, but I'm just wondering if that's legal, like, or we have to, as a district, pay for it.
We don't have to.
But part of the plan from the governor.
Yeah, it could, I believe it would fall under the acceptable fees,
Okay.
right? As long as we don't make it mandatory and we have it for students. The other thing you could do is you could go off the first time, purchase them, and charge a fee for damaged, right? Similar to kind of how districts do Chromebooks, that kind of thing. Or you just, put it into your year-over-year budget, right? The first year it'd probably cost us all in anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000, thinking about also the people all in. Paula and I'd have to kind of run that kind of math. But then year over year, it's maybe just the people, 100 pouches every year. That's another option.
And then my last question would be, is it a very heavy lift to do a survey similar to the ones you shared with us, that we could get data, just to ask parents, would you want to pay for that? Or could you pay for it?
Totally.
Would you be willing to pay for it?
So one little caveat in this legislation is that districts in forming whatever their policy is has to get what they define as significant stakeholder participation.
Okay.
So that just doesn't mean like just a parent survey. It would be, staff survey, student survey.
Yeah, I love that.
We'd get all of the information and push it out, and we can collect all kind of data.
Because I mean, some of those surveys are really great already. So I was like,
Already
we
done,
could just
yeah.
use those, modify them slightly for
Corona
ourselves.
Norco had an amazing one
Yeah.
that they'd already
Yeah,
created.
it was really good.
Maggie?
Yeah, I was reviewing different policies from different districts, and I think one of the things that I thought was interesting from other districts that have had these policies in, and we've had ours for a long time too, but ours specifically looks at cell phones, I think, the one that we currently have in place right now, and other districts have a broader technology ban. So I think there is one conversation to have on this of in terms of the social emotional impact, right, which is what's driving a huge parental concern off of students having an inability to form friendships and conversations. There's, I think, a different conversation about safety in bathrooms that I would tackle on that's a whole separate thing. But in terms of the social emotional piece on technology, that is it's taking away from instruction time and it's taking away from kids' social emotional interaction time, right? So for there, does the ban also include MP3 players, right? There is the 90s are back, our pagers coming back, I don't know, right? But how far is this thing? So is it that we don't want kids to rely on technology to form friendships? And I don't know if that's actually a true thing in the 21st century. Snap's Ray-Ban glasses are coming out and every kid's gonna have them in about 3 years, right? The price point on those is going down. So are we taking away sunglasses? There has to be some sort of goal that we're working towards in terms of talking about technology. So that's something I would like to do as we talk about surveys in terms of what is our goal of limiting the technology. And if it's about social emotional, I think there's a wide spectrum of conversations to have on it. Yes, it can be damaging. We saw a lot of data on how damaging social media apps can be, but I think there's other places where technology can be beneficial for some of these kids. An online chess game. Some kids like to play that kind of didactic method of engagement. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So in terms of like what level of technology we're going to go to, I think we should clearly define how we want our students to build the culture, and then we work the policy backwards from that. So in terms of like where we're going for, that's where I would like to devote some of our time on the survey. In terms of the actual technology, again, kids are smarter than we are, and they will find the Google hack around any device we have. So I'm not so interested in investing in pouches. I am interested in investing in behavior. And then the only possible technology getting to the safety part of this, specifically around bathrooms, the board has talked before about geofences. We did it before with scooters, when scooters were like taking over the town, right? We geofenced Hermosa Beach, so you couldn't ride a Lime scooter through here. We can do that with different forms of Wi-Fi and whatnot. So I'd be looking to try and create safe zones specifically for kids to have access where there's not a barrier. But then, at the start of the summer, Anxious Generation was like the hot book to read. And I think it had some really valid points. But for me, the big takeaway that is parents have an obligation in this, right? So I think some of the comments that I read submitted tonight were like, look what we did with e-bikes. We had kids take a course, right, to bring a phone on campus. Well, take a bike course to bring, what'd I say?
A bike.
bike on
A bike on
campus.
campus. We knew what you meant, but just. to
Whatever.
clarify.
In that same vein, if parents are sending a child with a technology that they consider dangerous, then we should have families take an onus of taking a training with that as well, right? If we're saying that you're responsible enough to own a phone and that's opening up the world of the internet at large to you, then let's also help families figure out how to do a training on that so they can train their child on social media. And I think it goes one step further than screenagers with Beach Cities Health District. I think it's helping parents really understand how they can police their child. Like, don't send your child to school with a smartphone if you're worried about contacting them, right? And that also then relies on the district about releasing our office phone policies that students need to have access to phones on campus. Again, in terms of the office phone, right now we currently shut down the office phone by policy. We no longer have a payphone on campus. I don't even think they know how to use one if we had one, but students do need to have a way to contact their family if soccer practice changes or you're doing a sleepover or whatever it is.
Chipped your tooth.
Got your PE clothes, lunch sucks, whatever. So like, how do we also provide that avenue so families can have that? So that's my first range of thoughts on things. I'll throw it back to Gwen.
Well, it looks like Jen has a thought.
No, I just had another question. It's really an Aaron question. Is like, tell us a little bit more of like, is geofencing even possible? And can like, if I'm a staff member and I'm like, oh, I want to have a lesson on something, and I want kids to use their Chromebook or their device to have if I geofence, is it like, can I separate what's on the Chromebook from this device?
Correct. It is possible to separate the devices depending on the allowance of the device on our network. So we have the ability to control Chromebooks that are on the HBCSD network as far as limiting their access to certain sites. And that's a form of geofencing, whereas the phone, when it's not on our network or we prohibit it, then they won't have access to our network, although they'll have access to their own. So it would really be probably something to look into is like, I would see like what hospitals have. I don't know if that's something you may have discussed, to blacken or darken, cell phone signals. But then again, emergency service providers, anyone who needs connection, we're limiting them to have access to our students if there's an emergency or if we have emergency communications coming in because we're being blocked by other channels. So it's we have to kind of pick and choose and maybe test out a few different types of geofencing to better facilitate the need. So that's something we could definitely look into and test and talk to other schools and see what they're doing to mitigate geofencing.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Just a few thoughts to add. So I would be curious, as this conversation goes forward, if if there are experts, whether it's Beach Cities Health District or districts who have put this in place, put things in place and then changed them, or I don't know what an expert exactly might look like, but people that could come and kind of give us some best practices. I love it when we can benefit from other places that have done this, been there, done it before, maybe have more resources, et cetera.
Yeah, we can look into that.
So that would be one ask I would have. the Daily podcast did something on this a week or two ago that I listened to, and what was illuminating for me is just the ebb and flow historically of this. That there was a period in time, and I can't remember the year, maybe it was the 90s or something like that, where there was a lot of anti-cell phones at schools, and then there were some horrific events that happened at campuses, and all of a sudden public perception swung because they were like, wow, cell phones are a safety thing, and we want our kids to be safe, and we want them to be accessible. Now then we see the rise of social media, and now we're kind of seeing the swing back the other direction again. I just, I wonder if of these options, is there a way that we can kind of have our cake and eat it too, where we don't have to lose the safety benefits while addressing the very real and very valid concerns around social media. Silenced and away all day looks to me like the sort of cheapest, easiest, lowest sort of cost way to sort of potentially go that direction. So that looks intriguing to me.
Yeah. The concern about having access to them in the event of an emergency is a real concern. I think one of the things, though, from a school site perspective, as someone who may or may not have been dealing with this in the last year, is that in the event of an emergency, who do we want children taking direction from?
Sure.
We want them taking direction from the adults on campus and their teachers. And oftentimes, in the event of emergency, if they immediately start getting direction from somebody who's not on site, it actually creates more chaos than it does.
Sure.
That being said, if in the event we had to evacuate, we do want kids to be able to have access to their phone, right? So then suddenly you're trying to figure out how to take everything out of the underpatch, right? So
here's
just
where
a
we come
thought.
back to the experts and, what advice would they give, right? Is it trainings that we have to do these awful trainings now in case of a school shooting events? Are there trainings that we should be putting all of our kids through in terms of the right kind of etiquette and how to think about using their phones? Last couple thoughts on the survey. Sounds like that's probably mandated. I'd be, again, there's probably best practices around surveys. They probably exist. We probably don't have to recreate the wheel, but I would love to get that going sooner rather than later. I'm sure you're on top of that. And then my last question was around kind of, we haven't talked much yet about staff. And I'm just kind of curious, some of the stuff I've read says, hey, students or teachers overwhelmingly supportive of this because they find these distracting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Have we gauged that? Do you have a sense of that in our district? And are there teachers that are using these devices? And would there be any countervailing points of view we ought to be considering?
In my experience, especially even working with at the high school, I have yet to meet a teacher who's like, no, I love the sound of cell phones pinging while I'm trying to lecture. Kathy's probably a good expert as well. But they would be a demographic. So when we build out the survey, we build out who are you, community, parent,
Sure.
staff, because I do think they're an important voice, right, to get kind of their perspective.
Great. Because I think, there's enforcement and cost issues related to the pouches like you outlined, but I think you also hinted at, even a silenced and away all day has an enforcement component to it, right? The teachers need to be aligned on what it is their responsibilities
Absolutely.
are. And they need to be following through on that consistently.
The rule is, the rule is only as good as the weakest link. Right?
Yeah,
So
right.
if you have one teacher who's like, what, I don't mind, then we have a problem. Then the whole deck of cards
All right.
falls
Good.
down.
Well, sounds like we've got some very rich thinking on this already, a very active parent community, which we appreciate. And go ahead, Maggie.
So Susan, based off of what you're hearing from this tonight, can you lay forward how you are thinking about pushing this forward?
So what we'll do is we'll put together a survey. Eileen also has a very rich network of all of her communication folks, and that's how we started getting our hands on the Corona Norcos, the Lodi's, all of the different districts and how they've gone after it. So we don't have to really reinvent the wheel. So we'll do some iterations of a survey. We'll probably test it on a few folks and say, hey, what did we ask and not ask? And then we'll bring it to you guys to put it in a Friday update so you can kind of take a look at it. Quite frankly, I'll probably have you take it and tell me. And then we can have a period of time where we can send it out and get us some hard data.
Can we start with this number 2, the silence and away, just start and see how it goes? What if we have huge success with that? Then we don't have to do the pouches and we don't have to do all the other iterations.
We have put it away right now. So then the question is, making sure
Enforcing
it's and then it's enforcing it. And what is that going to look like? What is strike one? Do we give kids a warning? That's probably a conversation that we'll have with our Valley admin and our teachers. Because like I said, we're only as good as the weakest link. So
Yeah, while the surveys are being done, we could be starting.
right, here's what's going to happen.
process.
I see it, give you a warning. Number 1, 2, I take it away. You can pick it up at 3 o'clock. Warning number 3, your parent has to come in and have some
Yeah,
sort
I'm in
of,
favor of that.
Yeah, that's not a new policy.
no.
It's
But
just,
we
it
have
sounds
to
like the
enforce it.
enforcement of,
Yes.
like at the yard probably, or the lunch area, or particularly we're hearing the bathrooms.
Yes.
Or
And some
maybe
of that
just
is,
need a little more monitoring, and maybe that's more training for new duty aides that.
what's going on with the backpack situations. Do backpacks need to be coming to lunch? Sylvia and I have been out there, there's no reason necessarily to have your Chromebooks, and, we want kids to be able to eat and talk.
Where do
and
kids put their backpacks, though?
That's where locker, it could be
But they don't
lockers.
like their
Sometimes they leave
lockers,
it in
right?
homeroom, so
I mean, do they use their lockers? As far as I can tell, kids don't use them.
not all the time. Yeah.
I mean,
Not all the
at Redondo, at Miracosta, it's like, never
Get it.
using them. So I don't
That's
hear
high
kids
school,
using them.
Yeah, middle school does use
They
them.
do use them?
Yeah, they do use them.
Okay, great.
Yes. But again, that would be part of the enforcement.
Quentin saying his kids, who I think are, model students, did not use them.
Maybe not.
Model
saying,
troublemakers.
Maybe
No, I'm
that's
kidding.
also
I love you
something we
guys.
need to think about teaching is we put backpacks away, we only,
During lunch, right?
Susan, to your earlier comment about what you see at the lunchtime table, so
Mm-hmm.
can you talk about some of the ideas that you've had as a way to help students disengage from tech?
Well, when Sylvia and I came out hot, we came out hot. We were like, it's why Sylvia even got me a whistle. One of the things, we didn't see it at 5th and 6th grade, but what we saw it with the upper 7th and 8th grades, and primarily boys, is that their Chromebooks or their personal devices while they're trying to eat, and they're, trying to check fantasy football, those kinds of things. And we just, no, put it away. I don't want to see it.
That you were thinking of helping for students to disengage, like what else could they be?
So we, and you're going to see it later on here, putting in lunchtime activities, right? Having Sand and Surf come and run some soccer, having yoga. We had yoga on the books to get started. So having other social events, even just like we've got a ping pong table, like having the kids engage in something called fellowship with each other, right? That's, I know. And there, it's tempting, right? It's tempting if it's there, you want to go on. So I think it's replacing. We talked about the city rec department coming in and running activities. Once upon a time, the Hermosa Beach police department used to come in, right? So all of those things to keep them busy.
do we have ASB activities during like spike ball tournaments or
They do, and Club Rush is happening next week.
yeah,
So you're going to see those lunchtime clubs are going to get started. So we're in kind of this like slight dead period of time, so.
Thank you.
I mean, I haven't found with my teenagers lecturing is super effective, but am I unique in that? But I wonder what, if there's some analogy to, like vaping and other sort of bad habits that we ought to just be sort of educating kids about, and hopefully maybe creating some stigma around it that doesn't exist today.
Well, this is a
Disagree.
silly thing, but like, I know, like at the school I worked at, we just put up signs that said, be the first to say hello everywhere.
Yeah.
It just is a reminder, because you're just like, oh, be the first to say hello, and then you kind of be silly about it, and then you're like, hey,
There are, yes, yeah. Especially because we're gearing up for Start With Hello Week. Yeah.
Well, board members, thank you very much for your input. I'm pretty sure we're not going to beat any time records tonight, but that's okay. This has been a really good discussion, and it's a really important one.
My first board meeting was 37 minutes, so that's what I was promised. That's what.
No, this is super important, and it's top of mind for a lot of folks, as we saw from the comments that we got today. And thank you to the public for submitting those comments. We really appreciate the engagement. We want to hear from you, and so many of them were incredibly thoughtful, well-written, and we appreciate that. So, all right, moving on to the consent items. May I get a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Thank you, Maggie. May I get a second?
second.
Thank you, Jen, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent items are approved. Thank you for coming. right. See if I can do this. I get to skip the next item because we did it already because I'm like super on the ball. So we're going to move right to S14, 2324, Resolution 04, 2425, Statement of Assurance for the Pupil Textbook Instructional Materials Incentive Program. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, so Education Code 60119 states that each pupil, including English learners, has a standards-aligned textbook or instructional materials, or both, to use in class or take home. This does not require 2 sets, it just requires at least 1 for each pupil. This public hearing is a yearly requirement set forth under Williams legislation to verify and ensure compliance, and this resolution states that textbook and instructional materials for all 4 core content areas, including and then foreign language, health and science lab equipment for each HBCSD student meets the sufficiency definition. All school site administrators and staff have verified full compliance, and staff recommend you adopt this resolution.
Thank you very much. Do any of my colleagues have any comments or questions? Seeing none, I would ask for a resolution.
I move to approve.
So, second.
Thank you, Maggie and Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution passed. Next item, S15, 2425, updates to board policies and administrative regulations. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, so as is our process, the school district routinely reviews board policies and administrative regulations to ensure compliance and adherence to changes in education code, legislative actions, legal decisions, and local needs. Before you this evening are 18 policies, and we want to thank Paula and Sylvia for diligently reading every word of them to review the policies and ensure that compliance. Staff recommend you approve these updated HBCSD policies.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilds. Did anybody have any questions or comments on any of the policies in our packets? No. Seeing none, I'll ask for a resolution to approve.
So moved.
Thank you,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Second.
Second. Thank you, Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution adopted. All right, moving on to business items B31, 2425, the 2324 unaudited actuals. We're going to get excited again.
Woohoo, yes.
Some people.
Mr. Montalvo.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve and accept the 23-24 unaudited actuals.
So moved. Sorry, I don't have any questions. We got the questions out before, but if anybody does.
I'll have a second. No
All right,
questions.
we have a motion and we have a second. Are we all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Motion adopted. Thank you very much, Paul.
Sorry.
I like the efficiency, Jen. Thank you. All right, moving on to B32, 2425, resolution number 170809, in the matter of California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act Commission for the approval of the contract received from Rome's for new fencing and gates at Hermosa View School. Ms. Montalvo.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the California Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, which is really a method for construction work to get done faster. That's what that's saying. For Rome's to come in and provide a gate project at Hermosa View for the expansion of the UPK program.
Great. Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments?
I have a question. Can you tell a bit more, which fencing is that?
Yeah, so sorry, Dr. Johnson, but the Dolphin Cove in the back of a view, yep. So we're going to repurpose that area. We have some really great equipment up there that would really benefit our preschool friends. So we want to expand that out so that we're in compliance with the area. And we'll just, all we have to do is just pull the fencing out a little bit more. And now we have an amazing preschool playground, and we're reusing those structures that are already there.
Great. I have one question.
Go ahead, Jen.
Is there a particular number in which we have to get multiple bids for?
Typically, yes. It's usually under the CUPCA program, Nancy, if I'm correct, it's under $60,000.
Okay.
We don't have to have multiple bids.
Okay, and this one's under 60?
Yes, it's 30,000
Okay.
and some change.
Yep.
Great, thank you. If there are no other questions, can I have a motion? Thank you, Jen, for the motion. Second from Maggie. Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. Moving on to item B33, 2425, contract informed K-12. Ms. Gluck.
The district is looking to streamline form management and workflow automation with an online platform. So it is recommended that the board approve the contract with Inform K-12 as a form management and workflow automation platform for the district.
Do any of my colleagues have questions or comments?
I just had one, is this replacing something we already have? Or is this something we kind of mandated to have?
Paper, it's
Oh,
replacing
is this something
paper.
you've used, one of you have used in
I
somewhere else?
have, yeah.
Okay.
And so what
Like
it does
Slack
is.
for school systems?
No, so one of, if you think about like one example of a form we have is the facility use request. If somebody wants to do that, they have to download the form online, they have to fill it out, and it's paper back and forth. We can digitize that form so families can fill it out online. It then gets sent electronically to the folks who then need to approve it. They can even upload samples of their insurance and all of the things that they might need. And it allows us to find things and track things quicker. So the goal is to save the staff in Paula's department, save them time and no loose paper.
Any other comments or questions? I'll just say that I, appreciate the perspective you're bringing to us and helping us. Look, we're a small district and, we can't afford to all the time do research and be the most sophisticated operator in the world. So we really welcome new perspectives that you're bringing to us and encourage you to keep finding ways with your team to streamline things. And
I aim to make
bring us into
Sylvia
the
happy
90s.
at all times.
That's awesome. Great. All right. No other questions or comments. I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy.
Second.
Thank you for the second, Jen. And all in favor? Aye. Great. Passed. Item B34, 2425, lease agreement, district-wide copiers. Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you, Quinn. So it is recommended to the board to approve the lease agreement for the renewal of the Xerox SoCal Office Technologies for the copiers at Hermosa View, Hermosa Valley, and the district office. As currently, we are in a place where we need to renew them, so it's in the best interest that we keep things going and get this renewed. What do you think?
I'll
tell you in a second.
Copiers are evil, but.
They are.
But necessary.
Necessary.
It's a
Can't we have the
necessary
kids
evil.
do stuff on their phones instead? Just kidding.
Right. There's something coming out
That's
about
too
that.
soon.
Too soon, no, yeah, easy.
It was a good one, though. I liked it.
I think I'll drive a car through that one.
Kathy, did you have any questions or comments?
I do not.
Anybody else?
I'm all about the Xerox machines.
Have we, I'm just out of curiosity, have we, from 20, 30 years ago, are we using these things a lot less than we
Less?
used to? I hope.
You would be surprised, but we can pull an actual report and we can show you how many copies, yeah.
Mostly idle curiosity.
As a school site principal, the number of copies was literally a full-time job, but yeah, we can pull it.
Wow.
Pull a report.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. Can I have a
Second.
Thank you, Kathy, for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Moving on to B35, 2425, the 2024-2025 consolidated application. Ms. Montalvo.
Approval is recommended for the submission of the 2024-25 consolidated application for funding for categorical programming, which is Title II. And that's professional development for our certificated staff.
Are there any other questions, comments? Okay, if not, love a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Jen. Have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fantastic.
I'm too lazy.
Penultimate item, P13, 2425. What?
Steven, that's so Steven.
Memorandum of Understanding between Hermosa Beach City School District and Hermosa Beach Educators Association, certificated and classified units. Dr. Wilds.
Yes, so this is a MOU between the school district and Hermosa Beach Educators Association, both the certificated and classified. So you'll see two here to provide clarifying language in regards to the one-time off-schedule payment of 1.625%. To be based off of the 24-25 salary schedules. Staff recommends you approve these MOUs, and Paula can get started.
No questions.
I just wanted to point out, just to make sure I'm just, so since we only got 1.07% from the state, and just as a board, we agreed to give everybody that's
Off schedule.
an off-schedule amount of 1.65, which is probably more than many other places are are doing. I just
Most-
want to
yeah.
remind ourselves that our focus is making sure our staff is really happy.
Yes.
And we also
Absolutely.
increase their health and welfare benefits by $500. So
Absolutely.
I think that's awesome that just as a board, I'm really proud of us for always being like, hey, let's make sure the teachers are happy teachers. It's like happy wife, happy
And
life.
I will tell
happy
you, our
teachers,
surrounding
happy life.
districts are still in the middle of negotiations.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
fact
so-
that you are closed out, kudos to Dr. Johnson and to the Educators Association, like, it couldn't have been a better gift.
Yeah,
I
we
appreciate it.
just really appreciate the HBF for HBA from working with us so diligently. And HBEF, yes.
They were motivated to give that to you when you came, have it all be.
It was a gift.
was
I
a
appreciate
gift.
it.
Yeah, and I would just note that, the district is in a pretty good financial position, especially compared to some of our neighbors. So, we can afford this even in a lean time. And yeah, I think all the board is happy to be able to do that when we can afford to do it.
The
So,
gift of enrollment.
great. All right, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Maggie on the motion, Jen on the second.
Kathy, too bad.
Darn it. Kathy on the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay.
Oh, Lordy.
P14, 2425, certificated substitute salary schedule.
Yes, so thank you. So it's the final item tonight. We have been doing a little bit of an audit of our substitute system. And one of the audits, things that we noticed is there's no differential in short-term one-day subs versus long-term subs. Something to note, long-term subs have to have the more than a 30-day credential, and they also start engaging in lesson planning. And so we wanted to, as a first step of looking at our substitute rates, we wanted to make a difference between one day and versus long-term. In probably subsequent months, maybe in the spring, we're going to come back because we've been doing an audit and we are paying our subs the lowest amount of money in the area, which when that happens, you have a hard time hiring subs. And when that happens, we have to use outsource to Scoot. Scoot is at least 250% more every time we have to call a Scoot sub. So we want to bring our own subs in-house, but we want to pay them so that they want to come here.
Great.
Great.
Thank you for doing that.
Other comments or questions? All right, can I have a motion?
Moved.
Thank you, Kathy.
Second.
Thank you, Maggie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, board member roundtable. Any items anybody wanted to bring up before we adjourn for the evening?
I did have one.
Please.
I just had a question, and if this is too much work, then you can say no. Would it be possible to send the folks that sent us public comment, just a link to the video from the meeting tonight of when we talked about the cell phone policy
Yeah, we can.
conversation, just
Yep.
so they know that we're
See it?
hearing them, listening to them. We agree with, I'll speak for myself, but as a board, it sounded like we all.
I believe everybody
agreed.
who's, I think we've automatically collected their emails when they go on.
Yeah, it does.
So we can easily do that.
Okay,
Yep,
great.
We'll
Thank
do
you.
a follow-up.
Great. Maggie? Kathy? I just wanted to, Beth reminded me it is 9/11, and I do think that's an important date, and I think that we'd all like to recognize that and thank our first responders in our community.
Sorry, Quentin.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, please.
When we do that to the families, I think last year we did an audit of how much screen time we're actually using throughout per grade. I think we did a board report on that in the classroom. And I just would love to attach that, just to remind, because I know that's also been a conversation about screen time and just making sure that we're not
Let me go back.
over relying on our Chromebooks or, those kind of things. So I just want families to know that we're hearing them, listening to them, what staff is doing actually in a classroom.
We'll attach that as like a PDF.
Okay.
I'd be really careful, though, to distinguish in our communications the difference between kids using their phones, for whatever, versus teachers using devices, I hope, almost all the time for very legitimate educational purposes. So I don't, in my head, they don't fit in the same boat, but I understand that there may be similar concerns around excess use of screens, even for educational purposes. So anyway, I do think there's a distinction there, but
Just to make sure people know that.
yeah.
That we've
we're on it.
actually, well, and we've had the conversation in a board meeting, they may just have missed that board
Yeah.
meeting.
Absolutely.
And that we monitor it.
Yeah. Great, thank you, Jen. All right, if there are no other comments,
I move to adjourn.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.